Hi, everyone. Welcome to PowerCon and to the Building Eternia panel. We are super excited to be here with you today. We have some great stuff to show you and to talk about. My name is Jan. I'm part of the Marcom team at MEGA, and I am here today with a couple of our designers, Felipe and Kevin, as well as Nick, who is Senior Director Marketing from our team at MEGA as well. I wanted to maybe just kind of break the ice a little bit with a fun question, especially to our design team, and ask you guys how long you've been a fan of the franchise of MOTU, and maybe if you could share with us your earliest memory of that you remember with this franchise from when you were growing up.
Sure. I'm gonna start. Hi, everybody. Well, the longest memory I have is from my childhood. I grew up watching He-Man. I used to have the toys. Every single weekend in the morning, I remember those amazing words of "I have the power" and going into these adventures with He-Man. So, yeah, it's basically my life when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin. Well, for me, it's similar to Felipe. I've basically been a fan my whole life, so sort of 40 some odd years. I have a lot of memories regarding MOTU. Some of them are tied to family, some of them are tied to toys. But I think one of the funniest one is probably the fact that I had Stinkor, the figure, when I was a kid, and I used to keep him in a box at the base of my closet. So when I used to open my closet to get my toys out to play, well, you know, my closet sort of reeked of patchouli oil and whatever was in that toy to make them smell. But that's one of the ones, that's the more pungent memory that I have.
Yeah, that's cool. I can definitely remember that as well. I think that a lot of us who grew up with the toys have that patchouli scent forever associated with that plastic toy. Nick, did you also grow up with MOTU, or if not, when did you kind of become a fan of the franchise?
So I'm quite a little bit younger than these awesome guys, and I was not raised with Masters of Universe. However, when I started MEGA, which is 7 years ago, I remember going to Kevin's office, and he had like this big poster of like these weird dudes and women that were like dressed like crazy people, and I kept talking to him about this, and he kept like his passion actually made me want to know a lot more. To the fact that then I went back and like I tried to find like the episodes and some of the toys, and I ordered a bunch of things, and I got like a big fan of Skeletor, and it got me like very excited. And then when we were able to bring the toys to market, I was so excited, and it was something that is one of the highlights of my career, especially here at Mattel.
Yeah, you mentioned that Felipe's passion was kind of immediately obvious when you joined, and that's something that we talk about a lot, I think, at MEGA, is the fact that our design team they're all fans of the IPs that they work with, and that's kind of an important part of our philosophy. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that and sort of why that is such kind of like an important part of the way that we approach designing our toys? And
yeah, absolutely. So I'm a gamer. So I came in and I started working on Halo with the boys and some of the stuff in Call of Duty and so on. And I think like one of the key things to be able to actually make a toy that makes a lot of sense is to know what you're talking about. And I can see in the eyes of like Felipe and Kevin and the design team that is like behind all of these awesome guys, how they are crazy into the franchises that they make. So that like it actually resonates really well when you look at the toy. Like I remember like when the guy started showing me the figures and how we could actually do the features in the toy from the 80s into our figures that are 2 inches tall, which is a crazy design feat. It made all of the sense of the world. So when like one thing that Kevin keeps saying is it's like we're making toys, right? So usually it's for kids. So it needs to be appealing for to kids, but it needs to be collector approved. And that's the philosophy that the team have been building, and that made the line that we have now.
Great answer. I think speaking of philosophy, we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the way that our designers approach, bringing these lines to life. So I guess this is a question for Kevin and Felipe. Like the first thing that you do, like when you're starting to look at the new a new season of products for a specific line, like how do you start like picking which figures and which vehicles you're gonna bring to the line, especially when it's for a line like MOTU, which has such a rich history and so much to choose from?
Well, basically, as any other project, when we started bringing the most iconic elements of the line. But now that we have going so far with the line, we have to go back and see what are the best choices now, and which characters do we actually think will be better with in a specific toy. We like to create good narrative, so there has to be a cool story behind. So that's why sometimes we bring some character that perhaps we did in the past, but we put it with a new character and we create this cool new adventure.
Yeah, definitely. I think Felipe mentioned the word iconic. When we're picking which vehicles, which play sets to do, definitely we go with the most iconic first. If we take a look at how we've been doing it, first the Wind Raider was our first vehicle. Castle Grayskull was our first play set, and we've sort of started there, and we keep going that way. And so for the build element, it really has to be emblematic, iconic to the franchise. And for figures, well, Masters is a growing line for us, right? So we try to balance introducing new characters for fans that have been around since the beginning of the line, with also adding, with also bringing back characters that are main characters for the line for new fans that are jumping on board. So that's why we'll be bringing in any given year we'll be introducing, say, Mechanic or Triclops, but we will be bringing back He-Man and Skeletor and Teela and Man-at-Arms, and that core cast. The core cast really needs to be part of the line, pretty much all the time. But we are conscious that when we're picking characters, we need to make sure that we keep offering new ones as well, because of the depth of the amount of characters in the franchise.
And this is a question maybe more for Nick, but when we released our first figure for Masters, or I guess a couple of figures, He-Man and Skeletor, back in 2017, the MOTU franchise was in a very different place than it is today, and so I wonder, like, what was the strategy behind launching at that time, and how has it changed over time now that MOTU has all this new content, and it seems like the franchise is really on its way back in a really big way in pop culture. So how does that change the way that we approach the line?
Well, that's a great question. We're trying to listen to fans, right? So like we've been like, and I think like the four of us have been scouring all of the forums and all of the feedback that we see from the fans, not only for MOTU but for everything that we do at MEGA. And we could see that there was like a tendency of people saying, hey, now that you're within Mattel, because we were acquired by Mattel maybe 2 or 3 years before we launched MOTU, we saw a bunch of comments saying, hey, can you relaunch MOTU? So we had those conversation. I got like I was not a big fan of the license, so like I had to talk with design, and Kevin convinced me. He's like, well, you know, we're doing this assortment, like why don't we try to do He-Man and Skeletor? I think we started in Kubros, like and like it might like, which was a build build, and we showed. I think maybe it's Felipe who built it, but like that we had like a Castle Grayskull that someone had built, like just for fun, because that's how crazy the designers are. And they built it, and I got so impressed that we brought it at San Diego Comic-Con. I think it was in 2016 or 2017. We brought it, and then like people like freaked out. Like they were really like the forum started to light up, and this got us like. I guess like the final nudge to say, let's launch the figures and see how this goes. And that's how we do, right? Like, so we tool the figures, we look at the figure, we had some tooling already, and like we made those figures. I think in the assortment of 6 characters that we had, which were like very strong at launch, we only had 2 MOTU figs, and I don't remember the 4 others, but the 2 first that always got like taken from the trays were He-Man and Skeletor. So it got us like, well, okay, so now we have this potential of like launching more sets, and we got excited. So we started with Raider, then we went like as Kevin said, we went with Castle Grayskull, and now that like the franchise is getting much more momentum, there's series coming, there's like so many things. Revelation, which was like an amazing series, and like I can't wait to see part 2. Just gave us like so much material. So yeah, like we're excited for the future. Like there's definitely a big future for MOTU.
I definitely remember, like, I think it was just honestly within a week of the announcement of the when Mattel acquired Mega, that I saw the first prototypes that people that the design team had thrown together. Like this was on a lot of our minds, was you know, when we were thinking of all the amazing IP that Mattel was, that we were going to have access to, and there was definitely some fans that immediately went to MOTU. So that was exciting to see that come to life for sure.
Fun fact, Jan, those prototypes that you saw pop up the week after we got acquired, actually, we didn't produce them that week, right? We had them in our lockers for a little while before. And the reason for that is that before Mega was acquired, we did have a partnership with Mattel to do Hot Wheels and I believe Barbie,
yeah,
right, for a year or 2 before. And, you know, so for sure it was on some designers' minds that, you know, if we're doing partnership for these 2, why aren't we doing partnership for Masters as well? And so, you know, after the acquisition, it just sort of, okay, well, let's put this on our desk officially now, since we're part of the Mattel family. But anyway, so it's just a little anecdote.
That's great. Another question I had about the sort of the design philosophy behind these stores is in terms of like, are there any kind of specific challenges to bringing these toys to life, or either challenges or exciting opportunities that makes it different from some of our other lines, and also because you're basing our sets not just on content but also on pre-existing toys. So how does that kind of change the way that you approach it?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges so far is always replicating the original features from the 80s toys. Some, like, we work with blogs, and the blogs allow us to do amazing things, but sometimes there is challenges. So we have to really wrap our brains and think about how to create these features. And every time that we make a prototype, we're so happy because we managed to replicate in some way or the other these amazing features. So all of the toys that we're producing, from Motu, try to encompass these cool features that they have. So they will move in this certain way, not probably with the same technology, but they will move and they will create this cool effect. So yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Replicating the original toy features on the building toy part is definitely a challenge. Trying to do them on the figures is another challenge as well. And also when it comes to figure sculpting, it might sound counterintuitive, but one of the challenges, or one of the opportunities actually that we have, since our figures are very much part of our building system, is the fact that the figures are stylized in a way that when we sculpt them, we much like our bricks, we want to make sure that all the new parts that we're creating are also reusable within our system of building figures. So for example, when we started sculpting He-Man and Skeletor, that's when we added like all of the muscular body parts to our figure bank, and those have since been reused as well. But stuff like new parts like Skeletor's feet, for instance, that with the three toes, those are things that we want to make sure that they can be used for Skeletor, but they can also be used for other figures. And even figure parts that are dedicated, like Skeletor's head, for instance, that's something that when we're sculpting, we're always looking at it, trying to think 2-3 versions ahead of time, thinking, well, okay, let's make this like the most iconic version, but at the same time, can we incorporate elements from other versions of Skeletor so that when we do want to make those other versions, we're able to have, within the sculpt, we already have the guidelines that we need to be able to redecorate or repaint the head and turn him into mini comic Skeletor, for instance, but by just applying paint in different ways. So the reusability is really baked in, not just to our building bricks, which is the very nature of construction toys, but also into our figures.
That's really interesting. I want to take a look back at some of the history of all the sets and figures that we've released so far in the line before we look at what's coming up and we give the fans a little preview of some of what's coming. And we've already mentioned it, the Castle Grayskull, obviously iconic location and an iconic playset from the original line, which we introduced in 2019, I believe, in our line, and continues to be a success for us, is still available, which is really unusual. So Nick, I wonder if you could speak a little bit about what the success that we've had with the Castle Grayskull set, and kind of how maybe why fans responded the way that they did, and kind of like what that tells us, about where we're going with the future of this line.
Yeah, I think one of the thing, if I look back at when I was a kid, and I was playing with our frenemies bricks, I was always building castles, right? For building sets, it's kind of the nature of it. You want to build castle, you want to build big structures and so on. Castle Grayskull is not only like I didn't know Motu, but I knew Castle Grayskull, right? It was even when I before I started at Mega, I knew Castle Grayskull because it's so iconic in toys. It's the same thing as so many cool toys from the 80s, right? It's that. So that's so iconic. And we've expanded our distribution, to be honest, with the success of these toys, because the way that it works, it truly is, we need to prove every single season that the toy that we're putting in front of the retailer or in front of the consumer is going to be better than the one from the season before, is going to be more productive. And to be honest, it's really hard to have something more productive than Castle Grayskull because it's so cool, right? Like, and the details that, like, I remember Felipe and I think it was Michel at that time, like in the team, were showing me the feature that they had embedded, and they were like so proud of this little thing. Like, you can take the sword and you can open the door with the sword. I was like, like, you can't do this. This is not gonna happen. And then they're like, yeah, it's gonna work. Don't worry. So I think it's like all of these Easter eggs and the comprehension that the design team has and the passion that they have with the franchise that allows us to be able to do this. So future wise, like, who knows, right? Like, there's so many things, but we know that it's not only about like a vehicles line. Truly, like, if you look at even Revelations, like, there was not a lot of vehicles. Like, yes, like maybe one episode that had some, but it was about like the places where you were, and it was about the characters. So yeah.
That's interesting because there's a I agree with you. Like, it's kind of like a natural thing. Like, the first thing you do when you're building with bricks is you build a structure, like you build a house, or you build it. And it's something that fans, even of our other lines, often ask us for, build more, we want more bases, or we want more whatever. And it's rare that you have a kind of like an IP where there is like a perfect thing within the IP that is kind of like, it's almost like a natural fit, that it's like of course we're going to do Castle Grayskull, like it's inevitable. Now, like, as you mentioned, it's hard to top that one, and I guess there's not a lot of great kind of iconic locations like that we can replicate that success with. But maybe there is something, maybe there is another iconic location within the MOTU line that we could revisit. More on that later, maybe. I want to ask the designers what they're, other than Castle Grayskull, which is kind of such an amazing toy. What are some of your favorite from our line that you worked on, and that you think are really kind of special?
Well, there's two that come to my mind. First one is the Battle Bones. Battle Bones was, as Nick said, it was something that we create in our free time. And one day it's like, hey, what do you think about this? And everybody loved it, and we managed to produce. But the other one that is basically it's an iconic vehicle, and we love it, and we had so much fun. It was the Battle Ram. The Battle Ram is two vehicles in one. We had some challenges, but we managed to put the two split, like the original toy. The back, we have a launcher, like in the 80s. And we actually put two new characters at that moment. It was Triclops and Mechanic. And again, we managed to put the feature of Mechanic in a different way, but it has a feature. So we love it, and the whole team was involved, and we had so much fun.
Yeah, for me, the Battle Ram definitely is definitely my favorite as well. For all the same reasons as Felipe, and I think that just as well as for nostalgic attachment, the Battle Ram was my favorite vehicle when I was growing up. It was, it's everything like that a tank should be. It's the two vehicles in one. The launcher, you can fit somebody in front, and the other one manning the catapult in the back. And then the new characters that we were able to bring in, especially Triclops with his functioning feature, and Mechanic, which was a childhood favorite character as well. But my other set that I really like is a smaller one, but that for some reason, I don't know, I never had it as a kid, probably always wanted it, but is Panther, is the flocked version of Panther that we did. That one, I think, design-wise was a challenge a little bit to keep the articulation while applying the flocking. But I think that the result came out really, really nice. And, I'm a cat guy, so having a fuzzy purple cat on my desk while I work, I mean, I can't ask for anything more, right?
Yeah. I want to add something on like flocking and Battlebone, because Battlebone is my favorite as well, like for a whole different reason. I think I'm known within the our team with like the guy with the crazy ideas, like, hey, what if we were to do this? And then they're like, oh god, like we like, and I remember coming to see, like, they were doing Battlebone, and we were talking about like what are the figs that we want to have in this, and we were talking about, it was for San Diego Comic-Con, and then I asked Kevin, like my favorite character, like for whatever reason, is Mussman. And I'm like, and he was talking to me about this toy in the 80s that had flocking and that had scent, and like I was like, oh my god, like we need to do this. We absolutely need to do this, which was before Panther, right? And poor Kevin, I think, like talking with the engineers and the suppliers, trying to like figure out how to put flocking and scent in Mussman, and we had to choose between one or the other. So I remember like the conversation I had with Kevin. It's like, well, okay, so like let's do flocking, because like that's cool, right? And people can touch it, and it's kind of nice. But what if we were to add like a car freshener, like an air freshener in there that would have Mussman scent? And it came out like it was one of like my favorite Comic-Con exclusive we've done. It was so cool. So yeah, so I think, yeah, like there's always a way to find some of the features, but yeah, like I think that's my favorite, obviously apart from Castle Grayskull. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, I remember like Kevin, like the first figure that we had in pre-production was Skeletor, because we had so much challenges, right? Like they had to figure it out, and he was so proud. He came to see me and he's like, here's your Skeletor. And it was the one with the colors and everything. And to this day, I travel a lot usually. And to this day, it's still in my travel bag. This is like my lucky charm, because it's such a great thing. And it's like, the figure is a piece of art, in my opinion. Like if you look at like the details that we're able to make on this figure, it's just so amazing, with like very basic colors. So yeah, so I'm gonna shut up. Like I get excited about these things, but yeah, like that was such a great line.
I still have flashbacks running around, different stores, smelling essential oil samples to find like the perfect pine scent smell that we could send to our factory to get the scratch and sniff card in the Battlebone store.
The whole department to smell like pine for a month at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. That's a great example of how your job as a designer sometimes extends beyond just kind of putting pieces of plastic together into unexpected territory. Nick, your enthusiasm for that Comic-Con exclusive really came through, but I wanted to ask you about another limited edition item that we did for MOTU this year, which was the Battle Labbit, an interesting collaboration we did. Do you want to talk a little bit about that item?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big collector of toys. I collect mostly vinyl toy, and when one of my good friend, who's also a designer, is a graphic designer within MEGA, came to see me at one point, and he's like, Nick, I have this like one of my friend that is doing like something that's kind of cool, and I kind of want to show you. And I'm like, yeah, like sure, like let's take a look. And it's freaking Kozik. And like Frank Kozik is like a monument in vinyl toy, and he's like, you kind of want to do something with us, like what can we do? And so we looked at it, we did like an exclusive Labbit, like the original, and I think it's Felipe that worked on it at the beginning. So we released it, and it was so cool that and it went super well, right? It sold I think in like 3 hours we were out of stock. Very exclusive series. So the guys in design were like, we're always like brainstorming as like, what is the next San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, or what's the next exclusive we're going to do. And and one of the designers was just like, what if we were to do Battle Cat in a Labbit? And we all like started laughing, and we were like, oh, that would be so stupid and blah blah blah. And then he's like, well, look at this, I built it. And then there was like, what? It looks so cool. So yeah, like so we released that. It went super well. We launched it. It went super well. Frank Kozak helped us design the packaging, which is like so like 80s and so cool. And yeah, like it's a great little toy that is outside of the realm of what we do usually, right? Like usually we try to be as authentic as possible to the license and the IP, and now we just extended it a little bit and see how it would go, and it was super nice. So yeah, that's the story of Battle Cat Labbit.
Awesome. I think we've kept the fans waiting long enough, and it might be time to start talking about some of the products we have coming up next year. And I want to let the designers kind of take us through some of those. But just before we get to that, I had another question for you, Nick, which is about kind of, what do you think, like, what's the future of MOTU? We've talked about a little bit how, you know, the franchise is kind of like having a moment, a pop culture moment, and how do you see the line, you know, growing or evolving? And maybe even, is there a chance that we might kind of start introducing some other content from some of the other sources, like Revelation or the new Netflix series that's coming up, or things like that?
So I think the future is bright for MOTU, right? Like I think our CEO and everybody is like so into MOTU. It's so great to see like the passion, because it gives us a break of like some of our other IPs, like, which are amazing, like franchises like Barbie and like Hot Wheels. It gives us a break, and like it's just like a little bit more crazy, right? The future is bright. We always like our success for the past are not warranting success for the future. So we still need people buying into our line, which is why we always need to balance. And that's probably like one of the thing that Kevin and Felipe hates the most about me, is we need to balance like new entrants into the license, and then like service the fans, and really find ways to like have like those cool new figures and builds. So it's a very long answer, but the goal is to say there are opportunities to bring in Revelation, to bring in some of other things. We talked in length about we have He-Man, but we don't really have She-Ra. We have like, how many E-Mans do we need, right? Like it's always the question, like how many E-Mans do we, like, and Skeletor do we need? Like I would argue that we need so many Skeletor, but that's my only take. So yeah, the future is bright. There's so many new content coming. We have some sneak peeks. We have a great relationship with the franchise team, so we know what's coming up. We don't see what's coming up, we just know. So we can't build the stuff without seeing it. So it's like, you know, it's that challenge. But we're not done with Origins, like, for sure. We're not done with Origins. There's still things that we need to see. We talked about some play sets that like we would love to do. But that doesn't remove the fact that there's so many other new things that we can do. And the way that the design team is building the figures is to be able to do the future without having to redo the whole, like retool the whole figure, which is an expensive endeavor, right? So I think all of this to say a lot of new things. The team pushed me every season. It's like, oh, what if we do just one more item? Or like, oh, what about this one? So yeah, so I think like with these guys still here, after so many years and so passionate about it, like, do not worry that like we have so many new stuff coming.
All right, so let's take a look at some of that amazing new stuff that's coming up. Then I'm gonna let Kevin and Felipe take us through a few of the 2022 items that are coming our way.
Cool. So I'll kick it off. So first of all, good news. Nick alluded to it earlier. Castle Grayskull is still doing fantastic. So it will carry forward for another year. So it's available in 21. It will continue to be available in 22. So for anybody who hasn't had a chance to pick it up yet, for any new fans that are just jumping on board, you know, Castle Grayskull is sort of the centerpiece of any collection, right? So it'll continue. And anybody who wants to buy extra ones to build the back or whatever building ideas you have, it will continue to be available. Our first new toy for 2022 is something called the Zombie He-Man Horde Pit. That is basically, it's our new Skeletor skull set for 21, or sorry, excuse me, for 22. It's $9.99. So it's inspired by the original slime pit. So it has the dragon head that's brick built on the top, and it has the claw in the front to be able to capture your character. And what's cool about this set is, aside from being our first Horde inspired set, is the fact that we're including a new no mess slime part for that allows for display of this of the slime of the running slime down the dragon's mouth, but without the mess. So it's basically going to be a new part that you can sew all over the place, and you'll have slime without mess. And the figure that's included, really cool variation on He-Man. If you recall, in the mini comics, He-Man was captured by Hordak and zombified or brainwashed through the slime pit. So we're including zombie He-Man in this set. The figure is going to be molded in clear green plastic, and will come with the iconic power sword in green, and all around just a very fun, compact little set. I'll let Felipe continue with the other building sets.
Okay, super excited. This one is actually one of my favorites right now. We're creating the land shark. So we built the coolest land shark we could. It has functional threads. Actually, the threads are silicone based, and that makes them very easy to move. But that moves also what is the feature. So the jaw is snapping. This is a cool feature that we actually nail it to the core from the original toy. It comes also with two characters, a variant of the battle armor Skeletor, but with a twist. It has the double damage chest deco. So it's a different iteration, and it has different weapons. And we're super happy because we hear the fans, we know what you want, and we bring Roboto in the original toy colors. Yes, it has the torso clear. So we pay attention to that. So this is $19.99, and we're super excited to show this to you. Next in the line, another fan favorite, and personally, because of two reasons that we're going to talk about, is awesome. This is Monstroid. So we built a Monstroid from the original toy as well, but this has a twist. It has a mechanical feature that replicates all the movement. We couldn't add the electronics or the spring coil mechanisms, so we created this feature to basically replicate the iconic movement of the toy. We added some more stuff. So in different of the original toy, the claws are fully functional. They open, they close, they move, and also the legs, you could actually pose them in cool poses. But, and this is super cool, we're extremely happy to introduce Hordak. Yes, you're gonna have a Hordak in micro action figurine. It comes in the original colors with the original crossbow, and also we're showing for the first time Shira, our main hero in this set. Super iconic in the iconic look. We created new tooling for her, especially she's gonna have the sword of protection. And finally, we have a variant on Prince Adam because we know that fans requested in the past, so he's also in the set. And this is $29.99.
Cool. I'm really looking forward to Hordak. And then, the last set that we can preview in spring is our next set in the collector scale. So, you know, you've seen Battle Cat. Now we're introducing a fully buildable Havoc staff. The Havoc staff is actually very cool. It's 40 inches long, so it includes the staff part, the ram skull. It's super detailed, so right down to, you know, the shape of the eyes, the horns, and the teeth on the ram skull. It's sturdy enough to be wielded, though I don't recommend fighting with it, but it's still, it can be carried around, picked up, and posed for great Instagram pictures. The ram skull is detachable, so you can put it on your shelf and display it that way if you want. It's made up of 740 pieces that are pretty much, you know, 739 of them are purple, and the last piece is a small printed tile to add to the collectability. Overall, it's just a super cool collectible piece that makes a great addition for to a MOTU collection.
That's awesome. I remember in an early concept review for this product that I spoke up in the meeting, and I said that I had some doubts about whether people would be able to hold the staff because it's just like a very thin stick with a big head on top of it. And the designers were like, no, we can do it, don't worry. And I was like, okay, prove me wrong. And of course they did. So that's great. That's really cool. So that's it for the spring line. I feel like there's still a big thing missing from the line that I know fans have been asking for a very long time. And even though it's not coming out in spring, I wonder if maybe we can give a little sneak peek of another big set that's coming next year.
Well, okay, cool. Let's do it. Okay, this is so far the best toy I ever worked on all these years. I'm extremely happy, and we as a team, we're super happy to introduce to you guys Snake Mountain. So you love Castle Grayskull, you're gonna love Snake Mountain. It has all the features that you can imagine. It has detachable modules. It has all the features from the toy and more. We actually introduced elements that back in the days, they were just stickers, and we made them as a toy where you could play with. You're gonna be building it. It has the serpent that coils the mountain. It has the demon head. It has all these cool features, amazing characters that will be revealed in the future, and all of these cool things that actually you could open it, you could close it, similar to Castle Grayskull, and you're gonna be able to display it in all your collection. So super cool set.
That's amazing. That's an exclusive first time reveal, and of course we're showing it in using the validation model in kind of not in the final colors, but we didn't want to show give everything away today. So keep watching our social media channels for more exclusive reveals later, and of course the figures that are going to be included, we'll also talk about those later. I think that wraps it up. So I wonder, actually, maybe just like now that we've kind of given fans a hint of what's coming later this year. Is there anything that is not coming this year, but that you guys are really looking forward to? Maybe looking, just like a final question, what's your dream MOTU item that you'd like to work on next? And no promises. This is just purely just a wish list.
Okay, I have for sure building the fright zone. Now that we introduce Hordak, that will be amazing. And there is one vehicle that I love. I never had it when I was a child, but I love it, and it's the Dragon Walker. That thing, I will love to build that.
For me, Nick alluded to it a little bit earlier. We've just barely just scratched the surface of what we have, what's in the franchise, right? So there's so many elements of the franchise that we haven't done yet. For me, what I would like to do is eventually we do everything from the original line, all the vehicles, all the play sets, all the figures. So, more Horde, more Princess of Power now that we're introducing Hordak and She-Ra. The Snake Man, King Hiss and his gang would be awesome. And I mean, personally, I need a MEGA Construx MOTU lock in my life. So that has to happen sooner or later. But for me, I mean, we're really only just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I think that wraps it up. I want to thank all of you for your time and for sharing your insights about the line. I hope the fans enjoy it. And of course, thank you to the fans as well who are watching at PowerCon. We wish we could be there in person with you, and we will be in future years, I'm sure. So I think I'm gonna end by maybe just inviting you to join us on social media. Take a look at our spaces if you want more news. It's always a good place. And also, you might want to check out megaconstrux.com/unboxed. You can join the community there of fans and share with us some of your own creations. And it's a great place to get some feedback and some insights from our design team as well, who sometimes will share behind the scenes content. So thanks everyone, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.